Hey y'all, it's 5:13 p.m. Today is April 2nd. It's a Monday. This is the North Texas Mutual Assistance Group. My name is TJ Morris, and we are going to talk about a video that I shot yesterday and then subsequently deleted because it did not have the proper informational density. Meaning I ran my mouth for 20 minutes and never really got to the point. Yesterday's video was called Our Oklahoma Story, which was a rambling on of how we ended up with a piece of land in Oklahoma. And rather than rehash all of that in a condensed version, I'm going to tell you some of the benchmarks that we looked at for land and why we looked at those things. So this video gets some type of title as to things to consider when buying land for a homestead. So, first things first, we had three things that were non-negotiable. One was mature trees, another was water on the property, and a third was a change in elevation. Why those three things? One, mature trees are a good resource for a lot of reasons. They're on-site building materials as needed, if you know how to timber frame. They can be harvested for firewood. They can be sold off as timber to a logger, although I recommend you find a reputable logger. I used to do that kind of work, and people got screwed by all kinds of other companies back when I was in the business, and it's just a shame, but we're not going to rant on that. Informational density. So, standing timber, i.e. mature forest, is a good thing. It also provides habitat for wildlife, which you can eat if you are smart enough to trap it or shoot it. So, one, mature trees. Two, water on the property. That should be self-explanatory. You will die without water, your livestock will die without water, and the less work you have to do to get water, the better for you. It's more time, calories, and energy that you can dedicate to things like existing rather than getting your own water all the time. And the third thing is change in elevation. Why is that important? Number one, to us, it's an aesthetic thing. I don't like flat land. I live in North Texas, and everything here is flat, and frankly, I hate it. It's boring. The land is just basically featureless. So we wanted to change in elevation. But it's also good because in your permaculture gardening, which if you don't know anything about, do yourself a favor, look up permaculture gardening or regenerative agriculture. And they're really powerful techniques that allow people with, it's management intensive plant growing, and you need to basically come into conjunction with the land and work with the land to make things happen. And once they start happening, you can achieve a really powerful change in the land, a real powerful yield in a short period of time, which is why we are big on that. And having some grade to your land allows you to implement swales to catch water as it runs across your land, which effectively distributes that water amongst the different crops and fruits and vegetables and trees and bushes that you're planting. So it does have real-world applications, real-world benefits other than just being aesthetic. So we wanted those three things: mature trees, water on the property, and change in elevation. So the piece of land that we found is 21.5 acres. Of that, approximately 14 is mature hardwood forest. The remaining 7 acres is probably, and that 14 acres is 80 to 90% coverage. It's pretty dense. The remaining 7.5-ish acres is a combination of about 4 acres of pasture and about 3 acres of creek bottom and yard that still has a considerable amount of trees on it. There's several hundred trees in those 7 acres, but it's not near as densely populated with trees as the 14 acres is. So we have mature trees on the property, which is good because my task this coming weekend is going to be to fell a couple of them and make a temporary bridge so that we can get trucks and trailers across one of our creeks, which is an excellent segue into the next part of this talk, water on property. We have 3 creeks, 2 of which are 100% wet weather creeks. The third runs not necessarily year round, but it's not completely weather dependent either. So I would say it's an intermittent creek. But it's of good size. It's in places as wide as a 2-lane highway, and in other places as wide as a single-lane driveway. But it's a good water source. We have 3 drilled wells on property already, 2 of which are in service, 1 of which is on standby. It is not hooked up and running currently, but it is drilled, it is cased, and it's ready to go when we need it, if we need it. We also have about a 1/4 acre stock pond on the property. So water is readily available. Oh, and there's rural water piped in to the front portion of the property up by the first house. There are 2 houses on property. Go ahead, guy. You want to ride my butt? Go for it. Okay, we're going to get back over again. We know a huge difference between North Texas and Central Oklahoma. Everybody around here in North Texas is in a hurry. Everybody around here is a rock star. They're super important, and they have places to be, and they do not care if you are in their way or not. They are going. And up in Oklahoma, things are a little bit more laid back. And frankly, I prefer the Oklahoma mindset to the Texas mindset. I am over these self-important people that I live around currently in North Texas. So trees, mature trees, water, and then change in elevation. Our property slopes anywhere from about a 4% grade to about a 12% grade north-south. And the property runs east-west. So it's maybe 150 yards wide, north to south. And it's a half a mile long east to west. So there is a bit of slope on the entire property, which I'm okay with. Number one, like I said, it creates some unique features in the land that are aesthetically pleasing to us. And number 2, it creates opportunities for us to capture water as it flows across the property and use it for our purposes. So other things to consider when you get a piece of land, if you're looking for a piece of land, this piece of land that we got, we were extremely fortunate. We have prayed over a piece of land for 3 years. We have put offers on other pieces of land that fell through in other areas of the country, namely the Ozarks in Arkansas, and a piece of land by the Ouachita Mountain Range in Arkansas, Ouachita National Forest that was gorgeous but fell through. The people that we made the offer to, the homeowners, the landowners, had a medical emergency that came up, and it was, anyway, dummies. Guy half out in the middle of the highway. Okay, bad drivers, part 2. So we were extremely fortunate to find this piece of land. We offered, and the homeowner accepted, the landowner accepted an offer of $148,500. For that land, for that price, we got 21.5 acres of land. As I mentioned, 14 of it heavily wooded, 7 of it creek bottom and pasture. There are 2 homes totaling about 8,000 square foot of living space, with about 8 bedrooms and 4.5 baths between the 2. A small-ish shop, about the equivalent of a 5-car garage or so, and a small barn, big enough to house a couple of horses and some chickens, but nonetheless better than nothing. And the 3 wells and the 3 creeks and the rural water and existing electrical on property and existing wood stoves in the houses and propane heat and the whole 9, all done. All the work is done already. that 2 houses were built in 1984. One has been completely remodeled. I say completely. The whole house has been redone to 90% of complete, and the remaining 10% of the work, all the materials have been bought, and they're there on site waiting for me to get there on the weekends to do the work. The other house, the larger house, Grandma's house, is in the exact same state it was in when it was built in 1984, minus 34 years of wear and tear. But Grandma's 80 and she likes the looks of the aesthetics of a 1984 house, so she's living in that one. But it's a big, old, well-built house, and we were extremely blessed to get that deal for that much value, that much land, plus the houses, plus the shop, plus the barn, plus the creeks, plus the wells, plus the electricity, plus the propane tanks, plus the existing wood stoves, plus all the building materials, gated private entrance to the property, a road already cut in. There's very little more a man could ask for on a piece of land, especially for that price, and not feel like he was being just greedy. So we're extremely blessed that we've received this piece of land. I don't know how many other good deals like that exist, honestly, but I do know that we were very selective and careful in the land that we looked at, and we wanted the piece of land that we moved to be our forever home, so that we only had to move the kids one time. So we only had to move Grandma one time. We only had to move us one time. And I'm not even going to take any of the credit for finding this piece of land, because it was 100% the work of the Father. And that's really it. I mean, I would, for you guys out there looking for land, there's a lot of pluses to having everything already on property. Electricity, if you want to do that, water, propane tanks, septic systems, all that. And yes, the more complicated your existence is, the more critical failure points you're going to have. You could get no electricity, no running water, and composting toilet, and have very few critical failure points. But you're going to put more in the blood, sweat, and tears department to have your daily existence. You're going to be doing more with your time, calorie, and energy. And it's not that one way is better than the other. It's not that being off grid is superior to being on grid in a homesteading environment. This is not that talk. It's just a reality check for you. Okay. If you don't have modern creature comforts, you're going to expel more energy to accomplish the same amount of work, but you're going to expel less money because you don't have the modern creature comforts. So it is, in a way, a time versus money equation. So I'm not going to tell you what you need for your land. That's for you to figure out. I just wanted to tell you what we had in mind for our land and how blessed we are to have found the land that we have. And frankly, I'm really excited to see what the Father is going to do through that land and through us on that land. So, sorry, I had to brake check a guy. Yeah, I do that sometimes. So anyway, that's what we looked at for land. I hope that you guys were able to get some useful information out of this. I hope we have a higher rate of informational density in this video. Hopefully I didn't go too fast, but that's how we ended up with a piece of land in Oklahoma, not in North Texas, because I have not hit the Powerball yet, and ergo I cannot afford land in North Texas because my rich uncle has not died and left me all of his Amazon stock. So that's what I got, guys. I will talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.